Hi guys! So I have a little bit of explaining for things before I actually jump into my budget for my paycheck this week. Hopefully I can do this quickly and in a way that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, which I suppose is all that matters, but it would be nice if it made sense to other people as well. But math. Okay, so I don't know if you'll remember, but last paycheck I was saying how I had actually managed to get out of consumer debt the previous paycheck and then dive right back into it. And I, in a span of 2 weeks, got a Visa balance of $561.98, which you gotta admit is pretty impressive for speed. But I was super mad that I hadn't even managed 2 weeks of being consumer debt free because, apparently I'm irresponsible. So what I decided to do was find a way to fix it. I listed everything that had gone on to the credit card. So, sport check, jewelry, some of it is normal things that'll go on all the time. That's not going to change, like my Apple bill, where else? Like my Amazon Prime. But then I had random things. I actually broke it all down. So I put it down here. I spent $304.43 on presents, $119.60 on what I consider like splurge items, $7 on random, which is actually parking, and I almost never pay for parking, hence random, and then monthly regular stuff. So $34.03 for like protein powder, my Apple membership, and my Amazon Prime. And then I decided to add in the $58.69 I spent in, God, did I spend that in 2 weeks? That's sad, on Skip the Dishes, because I am a regular user of Skip the Dishes. I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm lazy and I don't cook, and yet I don't necessarily want to starve to death. So this is my fix, Skip the Dishes. Oh, and then $83.44 on education, taking Korean lessons. So that's how I came to the $561.98. Now, a while ago, I had a paycheck each. I had a month that had 3 paychecks, and usually in those months, instead of taking out half my rent every paycheck, I take out a third to loosen up a little bit more money for those pay periods. And I didn't. I kept doing like the half for all 3. So then I had an extra chunk of money that was technically a half of a rent payment sitting in a bank account, and I put it off to the side to keep it safe, figuring either I'll continue to add to that and then just be ahead on my month or like my rent for the months, which would be great. That's sort of the goal eventually. But also as like an emergency fund. Well, I decided to crack it. So I took the $392.50 and I put it onto the Visa balance, and then I still had $394.19 left over for my tax refund. And I don't know if you remember, but I was saying how I really wanted to use it wisely and make my money work for me, but I just didn't know how to do that yet. So I was just leaving it sitting there in a different account than what I would regularly access, so I could sort of think about it without accidentally spending it. Well, I figured my punishment for being such an idiot and getting myself back into the Visa debt was using it not in like a let's build up my savings or do something impressive with it, but yet again pay off debt. So I took $169.48 and paid off the remainder of the Visa balance, once again bringing myself back to zero consumer debt. So yay. And then I was like, okay, we need to like not mess this up again. Obviously, if I have money sitting there, even if I think I'm going to use it for something good, I end up not. So so I had $224.71 left. I took $137.59 of it, and I finished fully funding my car insurance fund. So now that bank account has $2,000 in it, and my car insurance is due in June, which is great because that means that every paycheck, the money that I'm pulling out for my sinking funds is going to decrease, thereby opening up some cash flow. And I'm using the money wisely, right? And then it left me with $87.12, and I decided to leave it sitting in that bank account because in that bank account I had $300 that's sitting there from when I got money from the government because of COVID, and I was holding on to it because my car needed an oil change, and it's old. It's a 2006, and whenever it goes in for an oil change, they always seem to find something else wrong with it, and it ends up with me paying thousands of dollars in repairs. It's insane. So I thought, the $300 from the COVID money plus that little $87 in change, I know it's not enough to pay a huge car bill, but at least like it's something to go towards it if something happened. So on a happy note, the oil change finally happened yesterday, and it was just an oil change. There were no other things that had to be done. So from the 300 that I had put aside, I spent 72.09 on the oil change. So then 227.91 left over. I added back in that 87.12 from the remaining tax refund, giving me $315.03 to play with. So now, do you see how this is getting confusing? Over here, I have fully funded my BCAA and my WordPress, and now my car insurance. And so then I took money from this 315.03. I took $137.82, and I fully funded the remaining of my car insurance sinking fund, bringing that account up to a total of $320, which means decreasing the amount I'm paying per paycheck on my sinking funds yet again, which is lovely, and leaving me with a remainder of $177.75. So for right now, the $177.75, I think is going to go onto a payment that I need to make, because believe it or not, I bought something that's going onto my Visa. Some of the Visa expenses, like my Visa card, I've realized will never really be at like a proper zero, because I do have monthly bills that get billed to it monthly. Go figure. You know, so like my Apple, my Amazon Prime, I can't think of what else, but I'm sure there's another one on there. You know, so like it's gonna happen. And I did purchase something only because I knew that I didn't use all the money that I had put aside for the oil change, and it's a bit of a pricey item, but it was something that I want to say I needed, but need is a strong word. I very, very much wanted. I live in a basement suite and it's cold all the time, and I don't control the heat, and they have turned off the heat upstairs because it's warm upstairs, because that's where people generally live, not in a cold, dark basement. So even though it is summer, I'm in winter pajamas with winter blankets and heating pads and hot water bottles, and I'm cold all the time. And I know it makes me sound whiny, but whatever, I'm just being whiny, I guess. But yeah, so I'm cold. And a friend of mine has an electric blanket. It's like a fitted sheet on the bottom, like on her mattress, that she swears by, but they're pretty expensive. And so since I had that money, I knew I was going to have that money, I purchased one off of Amazon because I'm cold and I'm a wimp. So I do have a couple things going on to Amazon, or like pending, that are going to go on, that I had purchased prior, but they hadn't shipped yet, so they hadn't charged the credit card. So I'm thinking I'm going to put like 100 of that onto the Visa, and then the 77.75 I'm going to leave in the account that it's sitting in, and then repurpose that bank account to become a present sinking fund, because as I learned from when I racked up the Visa card like so quickly, I don't have money set aside for presents for people. And if it's sort of a lean paycheck where I don't have a lot of just extra money floating around, I can't just go out and buy without putting myself into debt. And so I don't have a lot of presents, I think, coming up right away. But I do have a lot of family and friend birthdays all crammed into like the same 2 months a bit later in the year. So I thought, if I start funding something, at least I'll have some money put aside for presents. I'll have to figure out how much I want to put towards it every paycheck, and then calculate that into my sinking funds, but I'll get there. So right now, I am that's not a word. Right now, I'm still putting in money towards my Microsoft, my Norton, my emergency fund, and my travel fund, and it's totaling out to $100.26 per paycheck, which is great. So that's what I'm going to pull out of the paycheck today. However, that is actually going to change with my next paycheck, because my BCAA comes out on the 31st of this month. Well, I say comes out, it automatically charges to my Visa card because that's how I set it up, but I have the money to pay for it, as we know. So it'll go onto the credit card, I will pay for it, it will be fine, but then I'll have to start adding in the amount that I'll be paying for my BCAA membership going forward, like from that paycheck forward, so that I have enough next year when it all happens. So I'll be adding $3.88 to this amount, so it'll be $104. something like that. $104 and like a tiny bit of change, I think, coming out of your paycheck. And then it'll change again mid to late June when I do my car insurance, and then I have to add in how much I'll be putting aside every paycheck for the next car insurance installment, and that'll be an additional $74.07. So, I mean, you see what I mean, right? Like sinking funds, they're always evolving and changing and fluctuating, and like it's good because right now the fluctuation brought it down to a nice little number, whereas before I was putting aside like $200 and something. But the rest of the fluctuations will have them going up. But okay, that is the explanation of how I got myself out of consumer debt again, and then how I've recalculated my sinking funds. And now I'm going to get into the actual budget for this week. And wow, this video is going to be long. So it is my May 21st paycheck. Now I did some shopping yesterday, so my balance that I'm starting off with is a little lower than normal. Like a scary amount lower than normal, but it is what it is. So I'm starting with $1,082.83. Pull out part of rent as always, because if I don't have a roof over my head, everything else kind of just falls apart. Okay, so I'm gonna put in my savings challenge next. My student loan. So I don't know where you're from, but where I am, and I know I've explained this a little bit in the past, you can apply for help with your student loan if you're not making enough money to really be paying it off. And so that's why my student loan payments are low, because the last time it was calculated, it was during the pandemic. And well, I mean, not like we're still in the pandemic, but you know, a worse part of the pandemic, pre-vaccine. And they calculated that I was very poor and I didn't have to make any payments, which is like, it's great because I didn't have the money to make the payments, but sad that I'm poor that I can't make the payments. Do you know what I mean? But so I still have been paying though $50 every paycheck. I think I missed twice, so that at least I'm putting something towards it, because I want to get it down. Like I want to pay it. It's just, you know, there's only so much money to go around. However, that's only done in 6-month increments. So my time came to an end and I had to reapply, which I did, and I got an email back saying that basically they're inundated with applications and their processing time is slower than normal, and it's going to be approximately 2 weeks. In pre-pandemic times, you usually found out within, I would say, like 48 business hours. So 2 weeks is really long. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure it was that last time I applied for it, that because of the pandemic, they're probably just swamped with applications. So and while your application is pending, you don't need to make payments because they don't know how much you're going to have to make. So I'm just going to continue to make the $50 and wait and see what they say. My cell, I'm guessing it's usually $72.80, but I haven't actually got the notification that my bill is ready yet, but I haven't done anything different or strange or weird with it. So just kind of going on the assumption that it is that. For gas, I've already filled up. I did that yesterday, $71.20. So instead of pulling out the normal $200 that I do, I'm pulling out $128.80. And then for food, I did my food shopping yesterday as well. I went a tiny bit over. I usually try to only do $50 every week, but I did $54.18. So for the remainder, I have $45.82 left. the sinking fund, this is where all that stuff, the explanation that I did prior to all of this kind of kicks in. So right now, for this paycheck, my sinking fund payment is $100.26, which is pretty sweet actually. And that's it. So I've got $239.65 left. I am going to put, like I'd already said, some of this remainder of the $177.75 onto the Visa. So that's why you're not seeing a Visa payment coming out of this, because it's not coming from this money. It's coming from that other bank account. Yeah, but that is pretty much it. So I'm going to go and figure out exactly how much I'm putting on the Visa, and then how much is going to stay in that account to create the sinking fund for presents. And I think I am done. I think this is probably really long. So thank you so much for sticking with me through all of this. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a great day, that it's sunny and warm where you are. And yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. Stay safe out there. Have a good one, and I will talk to you in a couple weeks. Bye.